Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com.
Subnet mask would be 255.255.255.0. Correct. I will come here. Okay, I hope the IP address. Okay, it is assigned over here. That's great. So let's go to the computer. Now I'm not accessing through the terminal. Okay, I'm going to the command prompt. Okay, I will check the IP address. It's 1.4. Let's try to ping 1.10. Okay, I believe it is down right now. I forget to make it up. So I will say interface VLAN 1. I said no shut. That interface was down. I just turn it on. Once again, go back to the computer, try to ping it. Okay, the replies are coming. Now this is somewhat problem in simulator actually. Most of the time the first would be request timed out, but after that it would be fine. Correct? So we have configured the telnet password. So let's do telnet. I would like to type the IP address of the switch. Now which password is asking for? The telnet password. Am I able to log in? Yes. Now enable. Yes. Now remember that if I set the telnet password and if I do not set the enable password, he won't allow you to do that. He would say first you have to set the enable password, then only I would be able to proceed further. Correct? So this is mandatory. Correct? Now whatever configuration which we have done, okay, whatever configuration which we have done, I told you that is a running configuration. If I fire the command called as show running config, that means I am accessing my RAM. Okay, you can see what is the problem in this. Can anybody tell me?
Password is visible.
Yes, absolutely right. The problem is here, this password is visible. Correct? You can see this is the problem. This is a problem that whatever password which we are configured, okay, that is visible. Even I don't know where the enable password. Now I can put the pipe over here also in order to grep it. Okay, but it is not possible in this simulator. But in real life, if I would like to filter something, I can do that. I just want to, you can see the enable password is also visible. It's a problem because the password is visible. And if I, by mistake, if I take this particular website, sorry, take the backup of this particular configuration and store it somewhere, if someone got this particular configuration backup, he can easily get all the passwords. That's a problem. So let me see whether it's working this particular command over here or not. There is a command called as, I will go to the config mode and type service question mark. There is an operation called as password encryption. Password encryption, enter. Okay, let's see what happens. Show running config. Now you can see something is changed now. Am I right? Am I right? It is encrypted now. It is visible, but it is encrypted. But the problem over here, now it is in simulator. In real life, okay, now in simulator we are using the algorithm called as MD5 to encrypt your password. Remember that the algorithm called as MD5, okay, which is actually a hashing algorithm, correct? In order to do this in real life, MD5 hashing algorithm is easily breakable. I can simply copy that string. There are multiple websites are available where they can decrypt the password properly without any problem. Correct? Now this particular Cisco guys understand that people are actually doing this. They are able to understand the password because they do have a very basic MD5 hashing algorithm. Nowadays they are actually using salt key mechanism. Correct? Plus they are using MD5 in certain cases. They are using SHA 256 bit as well, which is a very high based algorithm. Now this algorithm, which is very strength, I mean this is very difficult to crack it because it contained a salt key. Now it is MD5, but it is contained a salt key. It is SHA 256, but it is contained a salt key. Salt key is a randomly generated number which there is no reference of it. The only device can identify the reference, otherwise it will not. If you have the original password, then only you will be able to understand that particular mechanism of the salt key. So currently we only type one single password. I will give you that particular password to convert everything. Okay, this is the command which we have typed. Because the password was visible, I actually configure the password into encrypted format. By default, the encryption which we are using is MD5 for a simulator, but in real life, MD5 SHA multiple algorithms are supported along with the salt key mechanism. Correct? So is it very powerful thing? But still, there is one more problem. Currently, if you carefully look, okay, once again you can check it. Now I am doing for telnet. Don't go for, okay, I'm currently logged in as a telnet. Okay, I will say telnet. I will type the password, enable password. Correct? Now remember that I said I do have 5 different users who is actually logged in to my system for troubleshooting. Am I correct? But here, if I carefully see, he's not asking me for username. He's asking me only for a password, isn't it? Correct? If I say I do have 5 administrator and all the 5 administrator is actually using this, correct? But He's not asking me the username at all. Then am I able to create a user over here? Yes, you can do that. I will show you. I said conf t. I will create a user. For example, this switch should be accessible by a user called as test1. Okay. And I will create a password for that also. Okay. So the user do have his username and password. So if I say username is Mangesh, password is Mangesh. Enter. Correct. The user is created. If I say exit and if I say show users, currently no user is connected. That's fine. Okay. Now I want to log in with this particular user now. Which is called as Mangesh. Currently, whatever password which we are using, remember that these password are configured for that terminal. Correct? That's why it's not asking for the username. You can carefully check one more time. I'm doing telnet. Now I already gave the password for the telnet, that is Cisco. So I type Cisco enable password. Correct. Enable password is common. Don't worry about that. Correct, because that is a global password which we are using it. Correct. So I type that particular password as well. No doubt about it. Correct. So I'm able to log in. But what if I would like to log in with this username and password, because I have created a user over there. Correct. Now there is slight change over here. Correct. Now if I say config t, now once again I will go to the telnet. I will say line VTY 0 to 4. I'm replacing the configuration one more time. Enter. I will type the password. Password for this terminal would be, I will say the password would be Cisco. Okay. And I will say login with local. Now this is the small change which I'm doing. Now if I say login with local, that means whatever user which is created in this particular switch, we have created a user called as Mangesh. Correct. He said login with that user. Correct. Now press enter. Okay. So remember that if I say only login, it's a different sense. He will not ask you any username at all. Correct. He will not ask you anything at all. But when the moment he will say login space local, he will start asking you your particular username. Correct? Let's see. I say exit, exit, exit. I said telnet. It's asking for the username. Yes, it is. Now, should I say Mangesh? Yes, Mangesh is the username. Now here some graphical problem is there in simulator. Now should I type the password? Correct. I'm able to log in. Am I using this password which is Cisco? No. I'm using this password which is configured by that user. I typed the Mangesh password, not with the Cisco. Correct? Because I said the option called as login local. So that means the authentication would be done with the help of the user and the password which we have created. So how to create a user on a Cisco device? Take this command. Correct. How to use his username and password for the authentication? You have to change the parameter to login local. Now this password is there, but I'm not taking this particular password for authentication. I'm taking the password for this user. This password I'm taking.
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Correct? So this is a slight change which we can do it. Same thing I can do it for a console as well. Where we put the login, I should say login local. So whatever users which you have created, he should ask the authentication based on that particular user. Is that clear? What is login can do and what is login local can do? If I pipe login local for your authentication, he would be asking this username and this password. He is not asking you this password at all. Correct? If I once again going back to the login, I say enable. Now this password is common. It is Cisco, because in enable we don't have a login option at all. This is a global configuration. Now if I say conft, correct, and if I go to line VTY, sorry, VTY 0 to 4, I say password would be Cisco, and I would say only login. Correct. Once again, I change that replaced. If I say exit, I will telnet it. He's not asking for the username. Now his password would be acceptable, which is available for that virtual terminal. He's not asking for any username and the password. Correct. So remember that this is very, very important task which we need to. Okay. Now the last thing we are going to do it, because anyhow telnet we are not using at all. Telnet is something which is a complete plain text type of protocol. So we always prefer to go for a SSH based logged in, because SSH protocol is actually a very, very secure protocol. Correct. Now how to do that? Now there are few steps which we need to do it. The very first thing which we need to do it to set the host name to your device. You have to give the name. Okay, so first step is called as to set the host name to your device. Okay, and how do I do that? There is a command called as host name is a command. If I say host name space Mangesh, this is a command. So if I fire that command over here under configuration mode, I said host name Pune. You can see the name has been changed. Now this name is very important when we are doing it production, because this name would be easily would get displayed. Correct? Because if you are doing monitoring, if you are doing any logging kind of a activity, this name would help you to identify your devices properly. Correct? So this is done. So first step was, okay, let's create a name. Then you have to do it. Now there is one more settings you need to do it. Now I will talk about this settings later on. This is called as IP domain name. So you are going to tell your router who is your DNS server. Now for example, you can type anything, because there is no such DNS server is available to go for host resolution. So, but this is mandatory for your SSH configuration. If you want to do it in a production, you have to provide a proper name to your switch. You have to provide the proper domain name for your entire network. Correct? So what would be my domain? I said IP hyphen domain. I don't know whether this command would work properly here or not, but it is done, so it is good. So IP domain test name. So I set some domain name. I put the domain name to this. So what would be the FQDN for me for my this particular switch? The FQDN would be mangesh-pune.test.com. This would be registered to my DNS server. Okay, my second step is there that I should provide some domain name plus name to my device. Okay, third thing, we have to generate an RSA key. Now, do you know what is a RSA key? Anybody have any idea? What is a RSA key? Okay, now RSA key is a cryptographic concept, okay, which is designed and developed for public key infrastructure. In early days, we had a problem that we would go for what you can say only single key for encryption and decryption. Means I'm going to use a single encryption key to encrypt the data. I would transfer the key to other party to decrypt the data. But this is a problem. If that key got compromised, I would be able to encrypt and decrypt both the way. I would be able to see the data. Now, in order to resolve this problem, okay, RSA is actually a company as well, and RSA is actually algorithm. You might have the RSA token in your particular company, which will create a unique cryptographic number all the time. So these are the three scientists who actually comes and they resolve this problem. They said, I will give you the separate key for encryption, separate key for decryption. And I will make sure that the key should be transferred in a such a way that it does not hamper anything if it get compromised. But security should be maintained. Correct? So RSA is an algorithm which we are using for encrypting the data. And that encryption would be happen based on the key. Key will tell you how to encrypt the data. Okay, there are two keys. One key will tell you how to encrypt the data. Other key will tell you how to decrypt it back. Correct? Now the key which you are using for decryption, you're not supposed to share that key to anyone. The key which you can use for encryption, you can give it to anyone, no problem. You just encrypt it. Okay, you're not going to decrypt the data. So there is a two pair of key which we are using now. Okay, now in our SSH also, by default SSH is a secured protocol, and we want to generate an RSA key for this because I want the encryption to be happened with the help of RSA cryptographic method. So whatever encryption which is happen whenever you are firing the command over the internet, that command will not go in a plain text. It will go encrypted way now, correct? And we need to make sure that while it is going encryption way, the encryption should be done with RSA, correct? So there is a command called as crypto. Now let's say I don't know the command, to be honest with you. Okay, crypto, I will put the question mark. Then there is a word called as key. I will put the question mark. Now I want to generate a key. I told you I need to generate a key. So I will say generate a key. Then he will ask me which key I want to generate, means which cryptography method I want to use. I said, please generate a key with the help of RSA. So what I'm doing right now, I am creating a public and private key for my encryption, and which I'm going to use for SSH. Hope so this command works. It generate a key. The key would be 512 bits. Correct. Now where that particular key are located, I will tell you. Don't worry about that. Okay. Now we would like to go for, now we already have the user already created, which is called as Mangish. Correct. Now we would like to say your particular device that you should use IP. Okay. Now which protocol I want to use it? SSH. Correct. I said you should use SSH protocol. And what is a version? So version should be 2. Now depend upon your iOS, the operating system of your Cisco devices. If it is version 1, 2, 3, whatever version is available, you should use that version. So I'm telling that this particular SSH version 2 should be enabled on my Cisco device. You should start using it now. After that, once again, our line VTY option, I will say line virtual terminal 0 to 4. Enter. Correct. I will say you don't require to put the password. Now I will put a password. Okay, I will say Cisco. Once again. Now here I want to make sure transport input. Okay. The transport input by default is telnet. I have to tell my particular router that any virtual terminal which you are doing with the help of telnet, now you have to do with the SSH. Correct. So I'm telling that it has to be SSH. Correct. So I should give you this command also. Okay. Be careful, you are going to copy all this command in a textbook. Okay. Okay. So this is a 3 command which I have said. And what is the last word which I want to do it? SH, and I will say login. If I say login local, what would be happen? He would not use this password which we have set. Whatever username and password which we have set for the user Mangish, he will do the SSH with his username and password. Correct? Now let's see whether it's possible or not. So let's close this. Oh, we are using a command prompt. Okay. So let's do one thing. Exit. Let's say log out. Exit is working. Exit. Okay. So I have set up the password. Now if I say SSH minus L 192.168.1.10. What happened? Why SSH command is not working over here? This is command prompt. This is a problem. Okay. Okay, so username is mandatory over in this Cisco iOS. Yeah, so what we will go to the line VTY 0 to 4. We will say transport. It is already there, but still we will say transport input is SSH, and I will say login local. That's it. Okay, so do not just put login over here. Put login local because this simulator is asking me the user. Okay, so let's exit. Okay.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Go here, go to the command prompt. Okay, this is -L. The username is Mangesh and target is 192.168.1. Mangesh enable Cisco config. Is it working? Yes, it is working. So this is the command which you want to use in order to log in. Correct. So we have configured your switch to accept the virtual terminal for SSH with username and the password for that username. Now the communication between all the devices would be, now here is control shift. Okay, control shift, no. This sometimes this particular problem has happened that if you try to execute any wrong command, he will try to go to the domain server to look up. So I just disable that, otherwise it will keep doing that. Okay, so remember that this is how we can configure the SSH configuration on your particular router or switch. Both are same. There is no difference in command. You have to execute everything like this. Correct? Same steps would be available over there. Correct? Is there any doubt in this? Anything which you do not understand? Now we are focusing on the switch right now. Okay. Is it clear to all of you? So should we take a lunch break? Okay, you are also supposed to do this, set up the console password, set up the telnet password, set up the enable password, encrypt those password. Correct? Every activity and command you should know. Then set up the SSH. Correct? Create a user, set up the user password, and let user that use that username and password to log in. Correct? So every practical you need to do it. That is a key in order to understand Cisco devices. This is how it is working. Now this is a very basic idea. If you're going for a higher level, we are using a radius server, we are using the TACAC server. Do you remember that? there is authentication mechanisms are available. So like a AD server, which we have used for authentication, LDAP server we are using for authentication. Similarly, remote authentication would be done with Redis server, TACAC server, which is available in Cisco devices. These are protocol, correct? So let's take a break, lunch break. Correct? And we will resume back at 2:15. Correct? But make sure that I believe that I just want to confirm it before we go for a lunch break. Everything is clear to all of you guys. How to set up passwords, how to create user, how to set up SSH, how to set up telnet, how to set up console passwords, correct? Forget about how to set up an IP address to switch. I will have a different session for that. What is exactly the IP address of that particular switch? Okay, so we will discuss more. Now we will start talking about switching now, and we will go and we will understand how switching actually works. Okay, so let's go to the lunch break, and then we will start talking about MAC address learning method. Then we will talk about port security. We will talk about VLAN, STP, Ether channeling. Correct? So once we have done that, your switching is done. Okay. I will give you scenario. Don't worry about that. I will give you the scenario. You need to do the practice 100%, because otherwise it is very difficult for you. You need a lot of practice before you actually go for exam. CompTIA N+ is complete theory. Just read it. Read that, because it is a complete theory. But if you understand theory, then you can easily crack CompTIA N+. I will provide you all the website as well where you can do the practice questions. Correct? But if you are going for CCNA, you need to have a lot of practice. Okay, so practice is very important in case of CCNA, along with theory. You should understand the concept, how it is working, what is the behind the scenes. I will provide you all the documentation, books, your some additional question banks where you can go and read about your questions, what type of questions, subnetting question, and many more. So don't worry about that. I'm uploading all the data to the Google Drive, and I will share that link to all of you. Okay, so that would be the best way to share the data with you guys. So you can download that data on your machine and you can work it on it. Okay, how we can configure the router's password, what are the different mode, what is the booting process of the router, how we can connect the different terminals, what are the different modes, and we have seen how to configure SSH as well. Correct? Now the main part we are going to understand is how we can configure, manage your switch. Okay, we would like to understand step-by-step procedure that how actually switch works. So what I will do, I will save this particular file, and I would say under saves, I will say basic and topology. I'm going to design a new topology over here. I save this. Okay. Now the device which we are going to see first, that is switch. Remember that. Now what is a function of the switch which we discussed? That switch is the device who can create a single network, or we can use the switch in order to create a local area connection. Correct? Now remember that I told you that switch is a single collision domain. Okay. Whenever we talked about a switch, normally you will see switch is breakup collision domain. Okay. So I will create a small different type of networks which I can create it with the help of switch. Correct. Now let's take one more example and we understand the first thing is methods of switch. Okay, we will understand a technique called as methods of the switch. Okay, or you can say methods of the switching. How switch can do and forward the data from one location to another location. Now there are three methods are available for a switching. Now if I simply take my switch, okay, this is a 24 port switch which I have. Now this particular switch do have three different mechanisms. We'll take two computers as well. Let's say this is my source and this is my target. Okay, I will connect it with the wire. Okay, so you can see this is my source of the data. Okay, and this would be my target. Correct. Now I want to send some data from my source to destination. I told you that switch can understand the MAC address. We will see that is a CAM table, okay, which is nothing but a MAC address table. We can call it as a CAM tables. Actually, we will see that, but still there are three different processes which switch can do. Correct. The very first method of data switching which switch is using is called as store and forward. Correct. This is the first method of the switching. Now what happened in this particular method? Now this is the slowest method which we have seen. Correct. Now in this method what exactly happened? Switch does not start forwarding of the data till he will receive the complete frame of the data. Correct. That means in a simple understanding, if this particular want to send something, okay, he will send the data to the switch. Okay, now whenever this particular data received to this particular switch, it will become a frame. Correct. He will calculate in the form of frame. Correct. Now understand, when until and unless switch does not receive the complete frame of the data, means switch will take the entire frame of the data inside his own memory for processing. This is what he said. He said store. Correct. So first what will happen, he will whatever frame or whatever data which is coming from this particular SIM, that particular data, when it is reached to this particular switch, until and unless that data should completely load into this particular switch, he will load the data into this particular switch. I will say it is a frame now. That frame would be completely loaded into this particular switch first, and then my switch will start doing the processing. Then switch will read the MAC address. Then he will do CRC, that is cyclic redundancy check, whether it's an algorithm which will help you to check what is the type of corruption or something. Okay, it's an algorithm in order to check the field of the frame. Correct. So this particular type of switching method is very slow. Now why it is slow? Because I need to wait, the complete frame needs to be loaded into the switch first. Once that frame is loaded, then I will put my algorithm on it. I will check whether the frame is right. I will check CRC check, the header check, everything I will do once the frame is loaded inside a switch. And then I will forward that frame to the specific destination. Now this is called as store and forward. Now technically speaking, this is a reliable method because here lot of checks are happening. Okay, there is a frame check sequence where he will be able to understand the CRC value. He will check whether is there any problem with that particular frame or not, whether the frame is corrupted or not. However, this is the best method which we can use it. Correct? He would check whether every frame which we are using, it is perfectly fine or not. But it is little bit slow process. Correct? Then second process in order to do the switching would be called as cut through.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Okay, cut through. Cut through switching. Now in this particular cut through switching, what exactly happens? Okay, now this is little bit faster, but there is one more problem associated with this. Now whenever this particular guy started sending the frames, correct, as soon as my particular switch read the destination side, remember that the frames, correct, it could be a single frame, it could be a multiple frames which we need to generate, depends on the data. But remember that in cut through method, what happened, whenever switch received the frame, the moment he read the MAC address of the frame, means what is the destination MAC address, he will start processing that particular frame. Okay, he will start finding the MAC address of that particular destination, correct, into the CAM table, correct, and this will help you to make it faster. He will not actually wait for this particular frame to load inside the switch, then start processing it. He will simply read the destination MAC address, and once the destination MAC address he understand, he will start processing the frame, and this particular frame will start sending it to the destination. He will not going to check anything. He is not going to check any particular data CRC check values. He will not check whether the frame is corrupted or not. Correct? He will start sending immediately. In cut through switching process, he will only take the data. The moment he receives the destination MAC address, he will try to search the destination MAC address into the MAC address table, and he simply start finding that particular port on which he want to transfer the data, and immediately start sending the data to that. He's not waiting the data to be loaded into the switch. No, nothing. This is the very fastest method. However, in this method there is a problem. If there is a problem with the frame, okay, he is not going to check it at all. He will keep sending the data over here. That's fine. So if it is a problematic frame, he is also not going to check anything. It is faster, but it is not reliable. I won't be able to get the guarantee that every frame which we are transferring through the switch is had some check. Now in this particular scenario, it is not happening. Correct? Then what is the third method? Now third method is the one which is we are actually much more appreciated method, that is called as fragment pre-switching. Now this is quite interesting method. Here we will achieve the speed, we will achieve some type of reliability as well. Now in fragment free method, what he will do, he will take first 64 bits of the frame. Now this is a legal size. Okay, so 64 bytes, sorry, not bits, it's a byte, 64 bytes of that particular frame, and he will actually check that particular frame, whether the frame is corrupted, whether the frame is actually working properly, whether everything is actually properly placed, the header is properly placed. Okay, so what he is actually, he's taking the sampling. He will take the sample of 64 bytes, and based on this sample he will confirm that okay, the frame is absolutely working fine, and based on that he would be start sending the data immediately to the destination. So here I combine both the method. The moment I send the data to the switch will take the 64 bytes as a sample. Once again he will check the 64 byte is properly configured, means the frame is not corrupted, it is properly architected. Then he will immediately start sending the data to the destination. Correct? So these are the three different switching method. First method say let him store the data, let the data store into the memory of the switch first, then check he will check all the data properly, then he will read the destination, then he will send the data to the respective destination. So the data loading method, processing method, and sending the data to the respective destination would actually, you can take a time consuming process, but it is reliable. It is very much reliable method, but the only problem is the data transfer rate would be very, very low. Cut through switching, he will not bother about any kind of frame checking, means he will not be able to check the data at all. He will only check the destination and immediately start forwarding that particular data to the respective computer. Third method, fragment free. Sorry, it is a fragment free. Okay, it is not this. Okay, it is a fragment. It is a fragment free switching. Now here I have a combination of both. Correct? I am sending the data. He took the 64 byte as a sample data. He will process that sample data, will confirm that the data is absolutely fine, and immediately he will start sending the data to the destination. Correct? Now this particular process is called as fragment free switching. Now majorly whatever switches which we have, though those all switches are actually implemented with this methodology. Correct? So understand these are the three different switching methods. Switching method means sending the data from one port to another port of the switch, from this port to this port of the switch within the single collision domain. Remember that this is a very, very important word, means within the local area connection. Correct? Whatever comes under that particular thing, it would be considered as a single collision. Correct? Okay, that's interesting. So these are the switching method. Okay, fine, I'm comfortable with that. Now let's understand one more technique, how switch can store the MAC addresses. Okay, you can see how switch can learn the MAC addresses. Now, why I require to learn the MAC addresses? The reason is very simple. If I know the MAC addresses of the connected devices together, it would be easy for switch to send that particular frame to that connected device. That would be easy for him. But how he can do this? Now remember, that is called as application specific integrated circuit. Okay, it's a small memory is available. Application specific integrated chip. You can say it's a simple, very fast chip is available. It is something which you can store very small values. Okay, it only stores some amount of a data. We can call it as application specific integrated circuit. Correct. So this is a very small chip is available inside the switch, which actually hold the MAC address of your all the computer. Correct. Now this chip is something which you can easily erase the data. Correct. That means if the new MAC address is come, the old MAC address would be erased. The capacity of this particular circuit to store almost now depend upon different type of switches. Okay, the maximum capacity which I have seen, it is more than 10,000 MAC addresses. Now this particular number would be increased. Now it depend upon what type of model which you are using. It could be keep increasing, but the minimum value would be 10,000 MAC addresses. Correct. So this is a random chip is available. He can store 10,000 MAC address, up to 10,000 MAC addresses inside his memory. So if I go to the switch and if I go to the command prompt and if I type the command called as show MAC address table, currently you can see the MAC address table is empty. Correct? MAC address table does not have any entry over here. Now, what is the MAC address? MAC address is, okay, when we go to the computer, go to the desktop, go to the command prompt, and if I say ipconfig, okay, we do have a physical address. Okay. This physical address we can consider as it's a MAC address. Now, we already know that how this MAC address are generated. Okay, the MAC address would be generated because the first three pair of the numbers would be derived by IEEE. Last three pair numbers would be derived by the manufacturer of that particular network interface card. Now this is the universally unique number. Correct? This number you will not be able to find out any other devices globally. Correct? Now there are some methods in hacking we can change it, but practically speaking, this number is embossed on the network interface card. You will not be able to change it. Correct? So I agree. So my actual layer 2 device, which is a switch, who actually work on the MAC address. So currently how he's going to learn this MAC address, because I just checked currently in this particular memory, I do not have any MAC address listed over there. Correct? But I do have both the computers connected at this moment of time. Okay, that's fine. To make it clear, I will connect one more laptop over here. Okay. Correct. Now I will once again go to the switch and okay, still I don't have anything. Now let's say this is my Okay, let it become green. So this is my source and this is my destination. What I'm trying to do it, I want to send some data from source to destination. Now when this particular data reach to this switch, now which method we are considering? Fragment free. Now whenever data reach to this particular switch, it will become a frame, correct? Now whatever frame which he received on the side, he will try to read the header of the frame. Okay, now what is the header contain? Header contain the destination of that particular machine and the source of that particular machine, means source information and destination information. This is the most important information which my switch can read. Now out of that you only understand the information about MAC, that is a media access control. That means the MAC address of your both the computer. He only finds out whether the MAC is available into the MAC address table or not. Now, if I already seen that the MAC address table is currently empty, it does not contain anything at all. Okay, then what will happen? Now he checked the MAC address table, he will come to know that there is no entry. Then what he will do, he will broadcast this particular message or frame to each and every single port of your switch. Now first time what he will do, he will broadcast this message, correct? Once it is reached to destination, now that broadcast message will received on this computer as well as on this computer as well, correct? But he said this is not made for me, so this is said, oh, this is made for me, correct? So he is responded back to switch because this is the TCP message. So whatever he is sending me, I should give him the reply. I should send him some reply, oh, this message was for me and I received it, correct? So whenever he is coming back, okay, he also send the same information to the switch. Switch will process the same information the moment it received it, correct? Now let's do the practical and we'll see how they are going to learn it. Now let me set some IP address to this computer. Okay, I said 1.100 is the IP address of this computer. Okay, 1.192.168.1.101. Okay, this is the IP address of this computer 101, and this is the IP address of this computer 102. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this IP address has been set.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.